What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host that's way too deep into The Sopranos. I am watching way too much of that show. I don't know if I made this joke on here before, but I'm gonna say it again anyway, just in case you didn't hear it. The Sopranos is like Goodfellas if it was a show, and Goodfellas is like The Godfather if it was good. This story's called, No, I Don't Need to Leave. I've never posted on here before, but I found this and couldn't help myself. This happened about 3 years ago. Background. I'm a teacher in a college. This is a further education college, mostly for 16 to 19-year-olds and a few adults studying vocational subjects like electricians, hairdressers, etc., not a university. However, I teach one of the only 2 academic subjects in the entire college that many of the students have to take by law as remedial classes. My subject is pretty hated. They're already in my class because they failed an exam, and most of them have had really bad experiences in high school, so we tend to be pretty relaxed and use first names. My name is quite long and students never use it, so I just tell them to use a nickname that's a shorter version and easier for them to remember. The kids and all of the staff know me by this name, even the cashier at the coffee shop. The dress code outside of workshops and PE isn't strict. We have tutors with multicolored hair, short leather miniskirts, joke t-shirts, etc. We can't wear shorts or see-through tops, are literally the only rules I've come across about clothes. But they're really strict about ID. Everyone has a photo ID with either staff or student in big letters and color-coded lanyards that are checked by security when you enter. So, only staff could possibly have a staff photo ID and lanyard. This is relevant later. Note about me. Apparently, I don't look like a typical teacher. I have 14 tattoos, mostly visible, bright blue and silver nail polish that day, a funky pattern dress, bright blue butterflies that day, leggings, and bright blue slip-on shoes with butterflies on them. I like butterflies. They're in 4 of my tattoos as well. My nickname could technically be used for a guy, but it would be unusual where I'm from. I'm also used to people new to the college thinking I'm not a teacher. It happens all the time at the start of the year when we're setting students up with classes. I occasionally get arguments with my decisions on which class the students will take because parents don't believe I'm a teacher, but I can usually show the policy to stop it. But this was far and away the worst time it has happened so far. So on to the story. This happened on the second parent-teacher evening of the year around February. So for these events, each department is given a specific location. As my department is so big we can't have a room, so we get set up in the open space next to the cafeteria, as it's the only place where we can all fit and still have private conversations with parents or students. So there I was, bored, tired. I'd been there 11 hours at that point, doing my marking, waiting to see if anyone would show up. For the record, I've had 14 parents show in the 6 years I've been teaching there. Way bigger issue of working in a deprived area doing a remedial course. Sadly, this guy was one. So I'm sat there marking assignments surrounded by the other 23 tutors in my department and my manager, as she also has students, when one of my students appears. Shock! He says his dad is coming in from the car. Am I free? I say yes, sure, bring him over when he gets here, I'm just doing my marking. A few minutes later, I glanced up and saw my student pointing me out to an older guy who was clearly a relative. The guy walks over and the following conversation happens. Here's the cast. There's me. Rude parent. Confused student. My manager. Other teacher sitting next to me, also doing her marking, not speaking but confused. Hi, can I help you? Are you student's father? Yes, I need to speak to my nickname, his teacher. Where is he? Oh, I'm sorry for the confusion. I'm my nickname. My full name is redacted. I show my photo ID. I teach student, my subject. How can I help? No, I mean his real teacher. I am his real teacher. I again point to my staff ID. No, I mean the one who teaches his lessons and marks his work, not his helper. This student gets additional support in class. Yes, that's me. What are you talking about? You're not a teacher. Just tell me where to find my nickname. Go away and stop being stupid. I suddenly understand student self-esteem issues. Sir, I assure you I am both a qualified teacher and your child's teacher, but I do not appreciate being insulted. Manager coming up from behind, hearing him getting loud. Is there a problem? Yes, I'm student's father looking for his teacher. My nickname. Another teacher said they were over here. Oh, well, yes. My nickname is here, pointing at me. And other teacher is here, pointing at her, sitting on the table next to me. Don't lie to me. Look at them. They can't possibly know enough to teach a child. I want to see my nickname right now. Where is he? I'm afraid I don't have any male teachers by the name of my nickname, and neither of your child's teachers in my department are men. Confused student walking over, looking worried at the arguing. Dad, what's going on? Did they say something bad about my work? Valid worry for this student. Why did you lie to me? Where are your teachers? This is my nickname, pointing at me. And this is other teacher, pointing at her. Don't lie to me! This stupid girl! I'm one of the highest qualified teachers in the building. Can't be your teacher. You need a man to teach you properly. Me, other teacher, and my manager standing there in shock. Confused student looking really embarrassed. The student had asked to move to my class. I'm sorry, what do you mean by that? What exactly do you think we're trying to teach that requires only male input? Dad, they're really my teachers. No, teachers have to look smart, and everyone knows that the best teachers are men. Why don't you have the best teachers? At this point, my manager's manager intervened and took him away. My student apologized and disappeared to hide behind the coffee counter until they could leave. When my manager returned, we got the rest of the story. It turns out the guy initially thought I needed to leave or help him because he thought his child was trying to pass another student off as a teacher to get out of trouble because apparently teachers can't be young, female, have tattoos, and wear casual clothes. What his excuse for not believing other teacher was, I'm not sure. She is 15 years older than me, wears a suit, and looks like she just walked out of a corporate office. Next to her, I do look like a hippie student. It seems he thought that I had somehow stolen my ID badge with my picture on it, a stack of marking, and sat down in the middle of 24 other tutors and started marking without any of the other 24 tutors, catering staff, admin, students, or security noticing. Once he realized we really were his child's teachers, he then went into a rant at my line manager and department head, both female teachers in my subject area, about how women were all terrible teachers, they weren't as clever as men, and should be at home looking after their own children, not here corrupting his. It seems telling kids that the Titanic was a real ship and not just a movie, and that 9/11 really happened, it wasn't just made up for a movie about firemen, counts as corruption. Though he could have been more pissed about the follow-up conversations about early 20th century poverty and class distinctions, the importance of health and safety, religious expression, freedom of expression versus hate speech and extremism. I like to have a chat, and teenagers are usually funny. Then he went into a complaint about his child being discriminated against because he was put in a class not the male teachers. The student had asked to move. Needless to say, my managers were not impressed and asked him to leave in front of security. This guy then spent the rest of the year trying to make his child do work the wrong way because he didn't believe that his female teachers could possibly be right. Luckily, the student ignored his father, came to extra sessions, and managed to pass my subject. Sadly, the other teacher still had him the next year. The student was already further behind in that subject when he started, nothing about the quality of teaching or effort. But he was asked to bring a different family member to parent-teacher meetings in the future as we couldn't allow parents to abuse the staff. Since then, I've been kind of glad no parents show up for parent-teacher meetings. Wow, that's an interesting school. Because I know every school I've been to, in the States have always been super strict about dress code, to the point that it's stupid. Like, girls can't wear spaghetti strap shirts. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I get the whole thing where it's like, oh, it's too revealing. It's just a shirt. As long as your boobs aren't hanging out, you're fine. Alright, so this next story is either called, I'm more qualified for your job than you are, or, I'm more qualified for your job than you are, because that's either a typo or dialogue from a foreign person. Apologies as I'm on mobile. Not sure if this is the right sub for it, but this is fresh off the press, happened about an hour ago. I'm a head of sales and marketing for a major property developer with 10 years of experience in the industry. Several of those spent at a large competitor's company. Let's call them money homes. They are considered the epitome of luxury due to the high price tag. This will be important later on. My team covers all of the capital and a very large portion of the country. Roll on today, since we have only recently opened up and are launching new developments for which we don't yet have the staff. Today was the interview day. I really liked how that sentence was written. Normally, for those kinds of positions, the person would be interviewed by the sales manager for that particular development, a sales coordinator, and sometimes one of the sales directors. Since it's a bit of a trek for the sales director to come in for the interview, 2.5-hour train journey when we're supposed to limit non-essential travel. HR asked me to step in as new employees will be reporting to me anyway. Cue 8 applications we have waiting. First few interviews go pleasantly well, but nothing special. Until we meet interviewee number 4. Meet Annabelle. Before she comes into the room, she's sitting in the waiting area with other applicants, and not only can I hear her go on about how she pretty much has the job in the bag as she's overly qualified and the other guys are wasting their time, first mistake, then I can see her shuffling through papers at the admin desk which was left unattended, second mistake. She still doesn't realize that our office is behind a Venetian mirror. I can see her, she cannot see me. She hears the admin come back in and scurries away back to the seat. It's now her turn for the interview. She comes in, hands me a copy of her CV, and sits down opposite myself and the other 2 members of my team. I look at her CV with a slight half smile, which I think she took as a good sign, so she goes off talking about her major accomplishments at different employers. She tells us that she's actually more interested in being hired for another position at our company, which she can assure me she's more qualified for than our current employee. She then starts spewing out figures of our marketing campaigns, which have not yet been published, and advises me on the results we should expect and what our next move in terms of marketing should be. I advise her that the only positions currently open are for sales staff, but asked her which one she's specifically interested in. She mentions, wait for it, sales and marketing director. My job. My coworkers both look at me in waiting, so I decide to play along. I've asked her what makes her more qualified than our current director. She comes back to the marketing figures point and asks me outright how many applicants are able to predict in certainty what results you'll achieve, and then leads into a major point on her CV. Money homes. So I started asking a little more about her position there. What was her area of responsibility, how long she has worked there, etc. She starts off telling this long, rehearsed story of how she started there as a negotiator a few years back, and worked her way up to associate director, fancy name for managers responsible for more than one project, and how she eventually became sales and marketing director, but is looking to leave, so discretion is of utmost importance. At that point, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I really wanted to let her carry on, but I just burst out laughing and asked her to leave. She just gets very confused and starts asking me what she said that has offended me. With the biggest grin on my face, I then said, "It's one thing hearing you talk down to other applicants when you're supposedly looking for an upper management position. Watch you steal confidential information from my admin's desk while pulling the 2 pages out of her hand, our marketing reports, and telling me and my colleagues that you can do my job better than me by lying to me about your experience? She gets offended and starts going off at me that I know nothing about her and she did not lie about her experience, and how would I have known that anyway? Annabelle, the reason I know you're lying is because I was the sales and marketing director at Money Homes during the years you have described. And not only do I know you were not in a managerial position, I know that you are not even part of the department, even if you did work there, as the department was made of 42 employees, all of which I knew by name. I recommend that if you do indeed work there, you contact your director, as I will be filing a grievance against you for stealing confidential documents from their main competitor. Her face went pale as a sheet of cheap toilet paper. She turns on her heel, rips her CV out of my colleague's hands, and runs out the door. Like, does she really think that we did not keep her details on email when she sent the doc through? Can't wait to see if I'll be hearing from her or Money Homes anytime soon. Annabelle got a can of beans for brains. That's the best I could do. This story's called, "No, ma'am, you cannot return that meat." First post on this subreddit. Forgive me for any mistakes. I'll think about it. A bit of background. I used to work for a large grocery store chain in California. Ended up with surgery and now frozen shoulder. So during the time between physical therapy and surgery, I was able to work at a self-checkout. No one likes self-checkout. Anyway, back to the story. Here's the cast. There's me,
Old foreign customer.
I'm watching people check out items, I'm looking at the screen, fixing any issues, i.e. coupons, weight on the scale, veggies with no number. Old foreign customer is from another country. Don't say. She hands me a bag and says,
I want to return this meat.
Okay, do you have a receipt?
No.
Okay, no problem. Do you have any issue with store credit?
No problem. I get other meat.
I start looking at the information on the package. The meat is frozen to the touch and brown. It's a pork roast that has seen better days. I try to scan it, but it won't scan. Just give me a moment, sometimes it doesn't always scan.
Okay.
I keep trying to scan, but it's degraded. I look at the date, and you wouldn't believe it. The meat was almost a year old. The old customer tried to return a year-old meat to purchase new meat. Our store doesn't take meat that old, and she didn't want to use it. I'm sorry, old foreign customer. I can't take this because it's too old.
Why not? I sit in freezer. I know use.
It's almost a year old. We cannot take meat that old. I gave the meat back and told my front-end manager. We had a good chuckle. Okay, thank God. I know the story was short, so I don't know why I was expecting it, but I was expecting some wildness. Come on, that was good enough. But that was pretty funny, just an old lady trying to return a year-old piece of meat, and that's as far as it went. For that, I'm thankful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.